In today's video, we're going to be talking about how yesterday on the Spanish broadcast for UFC Fight Night, Emmett Murphy, they accidentally showed and leaked Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira. Now this is news we have been waiting for months. Ever since Ilia has moved up to lightweight, we have been waiting to find out who he is going to fight. If he is going to fight Islam straight away for the belt, or if not. And now we know he is fighting Charles Oliveira. This is arguably one of the worst fights next for Charles Oliveira that he could have gotten. Literally any other matchup would have been a better matchup for him. Even an Islam rematch would have been a better matchup for him, due to the fact that it would have been a rematch and he would have made the necessary adjustments like he did in the Chandler rematch. But this is his first fight fighting Topuria, and he is in for a long day. This does not mean I don't think Charles Oliveira has no chance of winning. I just don't see it happening. Charles Oliveira proved in the Michael Chandler rematch that he can keep his guard up high and wrestle offensively throughout a 5-round fight and win the rounds he needs to. This is the same sort of game plan that he would need to beat Ilia Topuria. But Ilia Topuria is a much better grappler and wrestling in MMA than Michael Chandler is, and he has proven time and time again that when he gets taken down, he is very skilled on the ground. But obviously, on the ground, Charles Oliveira has the advantage in this matchup. Ilia did come out recently saying that he was promised by the UFC the title shot if he vacated the featherweight belt. Obviously now, that is not happening. But that is what's best, to be honest. At the end of the day, if Islam beat Topuria, which I'm not saying he would, but I'm leaning towards Islam in that matchup, that everyone would be saying that Islam only beats featherweights. He needs Topuria to prove himself against a top 5 lightweight, and that is Charles Oliveira. The problem is, we saw in the 5th round, Charles Oliveira got comfortable and brought his hands down, and that is when he got rocked by Chandler. This is something he cannot afford to do against Topuria, as every shot could knock him out. With the KO power that Topuria has in his hands, Charles Oliveira cannot be risking bringing his hands down or getting comfortable like he did in that 5th round with Michael Chandler. And I don't know if I can trust Charles Oliveira to go out there for 5 rounds with his hands up, tight, guard, taking Topuria down every round, keeping Topuria down every round, and doing what he needs to do on the ground. And we saw in the Michael Chandler rematch that when Charles Oliveira was fighting like that, he wasn't throwing up that many submissions. He wasn't going for that many submissions. He might have a different game plan against Ilia, and he might be going for the submissions, and he should be, because that is his best way to finish this fight. And finishing this fight is what he should be looking to do, because he should not be allowing himself to get back to the feet with Topuria every single round at the start, because 5 rounds coming back to the feet every single time. You're telling me one time Topuria don't catch him with a shot? Time and time again, we've seen Oliveira get rocked in all of his fights. He has been shown to make the necessary adjustments to stop this from happening, like in the Michael Chandler rematch. But can we trust him to do this over 5 rounds with Topuria and not get rocked one of those rounds? I do not think so. That is why I am leaning towards Ilia Topuria for this matchup. He showed in his fight with Josh Emmett that he has the cardio to go 5 rounds. Obviously, that was not a grappling or a wrestling heavy fight, which this one most likely would be. So that is a caveat to that. But Ilia Topuria's striking is on a level that Oliveira has never faced, and his power is something that Oliveira hasn't faced and is a deciding factor in all of these fights. Ilia also has very good takedown entries, and he is hard to take down. He didn't get taken down until his Bryce Mitchell fight. Bryce Mitchell was the first person to take him down, and Bryce Mitchell is very, very good on the ground. However, in a lot of Ilia's fights, we have seen him get overconfident, overextending, chasing the KO too much, and this is something he cannot do against Oliveira, who is a big lightweight, and he has power in his hands. Charles Oliveira said himself that he could KO Ilia Topuria, and that is an option. That could happen. And if Ilia is overextending and going for the KO too much and chasing the KO too much, that is something that could happen. Oliveira has nasty knees, nasty elbows, and very good clinch work. And I could easily see him catching Ilia with a knee or an elbow coming in, overextending, chasing Oliveira for that KO. Another thing to be said is that whenever Oliveira gets rocked, he always goes to the ground and he stays there because he knows he is safe on the ground. Now, Ilia has very good grappling and wrestling himself, so I would assume, like Islam Makhachev, he would go straight to the ground with Oliveira. However, this could be a mistake later on in the fight when he is more gassed, because we have seen multiple times that later on in the fight, Ilia is finding it harder to take down these featherweights. And this is now at lightweight. This is against Charles Oliveira, a lot bigger, a lot heavier than these featherweights. And at these later rounds, Ilia's struggling, finding it hard to take them down. As a Charles Oliveira fan, I'm not too happy with this matchup being made. I think it's going to be an amazing fight. Very, very fun, very entertaining. But I cannot shake the feeling that we are going to see Oliveira get KO'd. And I cannot stand that thought. Ilia is just chasing down, go after go. It's like he's just hunting everyone's favourite fighters on purpose, laughing at us. He's laughing at us. He's sitting there with his fake ass BMF belt, laughing at us, crying over the Holloway KO, mate. You can just imagine him in his 2 mil home gym, laughing at us all, saying, "Who's Joe? Who's Joe?" Hey, of course he knows who Joe is. But I think this fight is going to have a very good build-up. Ilia always brings excitement and entertainment, even to the build-ups. He has learned English, his English has improved. But obviously, Oliveira don't speak English. He probably does a bit. He just acts like he don't, because all these Brazilians do. Like, Pereira acting like he can only say a couple words. He can hold a conversation if you talk slowly in English. Crazy. But the early prediction is Ilia Topuria by round 3 KO. Late round 2 KO, I could see that happening. I think Charles Oliveira is going to have a very, very good first round. He's going to come out there. He's going to land some shots on Ilia, because Ilia's defense leaves something to be desired. Is not as good as some of these other elite people at lightweight, like Islam Makhachev, who Dustin Poirier was finding it hard to hit, who Volk was finding it hard to hit. But Charles Oliveira will find Ilia's chin, and he will be landing shots in the first. And I think he will get a takedown early against Topuria, but I don't see him submitting Topuria in the ground. Topuria is too active and is always looking for better positions, submissions, anything, even off his back, trips, suplexes even. And I think it will be a very good first round for Charles. And in the second round, it will start similar. But I think we'll see Ilia Topuria start building up the pressure, start moving forward more, start pushing Charles Oliveira to the fence more, start landing some big shots against Charles. maybe even rock Charles, and Charles will go to the ground, and I reckon Ilia will follow him to the ground, and we'll see another round on the ground. But I do not think that a rocked Charles would be submitting someone with Ilia's level of grappling and wrestling. And his strengths, Ilia is very, very strong, and he's got a very good build. But I reckon we're going to see Charles dominate the early 2 rounds with some exciting moments from Ilia, with some hard shots that rock Charles. But as we get into later rounds, round 3, round 4, as Charles has done most of the work keeping Ilia down, I think we'll see Charles Oliveira slow down a bit, and that will give Ilia Topuria the opportunity that he needs to KO Charles Oliveira. I'm confident in this choice, and I'm confident in this pick, and I think that Ilia Topuria will knock out Charles Oliveira. I just don't see that much of an advantage in the grappling and the wrestling in this matchup, and I don't think that Charles' striking is up to par with Ilia's, and his power most certainly is not. Ilia's power will be nothing like Charles Oliveira has ever felt. There's no one at lightweight that hits like Topuria. There's no one doing what Topuria's done at featherweight, at lightweight. And we will see Topuria's power transfer to lightweight. This may be the best we've ever seen Ilia Topuria. I cannot say that confidently about Charles Oliveira. I can say that he will make the necessary adjustments for this fight, and he will have a good game plan. But it is shown that he has shown multiple times that when he's doing well, when he's following his game plan, he gets too comfortable, and that is when mistakes happen, and that is when KOs happen. And I'm going to change my pick, actually, to a later round, to round 4 KO. I don't think it's going to be round 3, actually. I'm going to change it because I've convinced myself now it's going to be round 4. But let me know what you think. Is this the end of Charles Oliveira? Is this the worst matchup he could have got? Is Ilia Topuria the one to beat Oliveira? Or am I waffling? In a bit.